So like I said, kind of jarring if you're looking at it from the point of how the parents interact with Skylar. Judge Willcott, we'll come to you first because I know you probably got a lot to say about how this was handled, given your juvenile background. What do you see?
So I know that I was going nuts as I was watching that, Brian. You're right, very hard to watch. And here's why, because the parents are so focused, in my opinion, and this is not atypical, but I don't agree with it, on them. It's all about, how could you not tell us? How could you not tell us? This is the worst thing in the world, that the worst position you could put us in, never mind about her and the dead baby. Not only that, but the mother starts talking about it's all over the papers, all the neighbors know. Well, maybe that's the reason in the first place, that if this 18-year-old knew she was pregnant, she didn't tell anyone, and she handled it the way she did if the jury finds that she committed this crime. Because when you have parents who are focused on that and what everybody else thinks and how it affects us and doesn't even focus on their own child, you're not going to have good outcomes. Just my opinion.
Yeah, and Joseph, we always talk about the facts and the information and how that parlays into the case. How do you take Judge Willcott's and completely accurate analysis, and I would agree with her, and how do you parlay that into the case? How do you make that work for you?
Well, I think that it explains why there were Google searches, why she was secretive, why she didn't tell anybody, because she knew there would be shame by her family. But one thing that I think it's important not to overlook in the segment that we just saw is her body language, her actions, her tone, her words. She looked flabbergasted that anybody would think that she killed the baby. I mean, she said, but I didn't, though. I mean, she was absolutely shocked that somebody would think that she did. And I thought that was a key point for reasonable doubt in this case.
Yeah, and I know that the prosecution is really harping on the after effects, like when she buried the baby and the text messages to the mother. Jose, I'll pose this to you. It makes sense to me, though. For me personally, my parents are beating down the doors for them to have grandkids. Right. I mean, if I would text them immediately. But in this, it's a complete opposite. So now you get to tell Mom, don't worry. Like, I'm fine, I'm good. Like, what I thought would have made you embarrassed or angry with me, by the grace of God or however it happened, it's gone. So can we now use that as defense attorneys to say, this is why she said it this way? It's not malice, or is that the prosecution be saying, hey, this is why she killed the baby, this is why she did it, she had a motive? It looks like it can go both ways.
It can go both ways, but I think the prosecution has a solid argument to say that this is a young lady who wanted to keep a secret, who had a problem, wanted to figure it out by herself, and did what she did to try to keep that secret from being known. And that's, people understand that. I mean, you're coming from parents who are very conservative, backgrounds. I don't know parents, personally or anything like that, but just seeing their reaction to their daughter being accused of a crime, and they're more concerned with, how can you have done this, rather than how can we help you? And I think that shows that they've already accepted everything that the police have told them, and now are just trying to, deal with the situation that their daughter has done something terrible.
Yeah. Judge Willcott, to you, I mean, Jose has a good point. Like, this can cut both ways. So the prosecution can say, hey, this was her way out. She had the baby, and she had to get rid of the baby because this was the only way she can be welcomed back into the home with arms. I think at one part in the video, the mother says, you're not coming home with us. So maybe coming home with the baby would have had her kicked out of the home, so she needed to do this. Is that a strong argument for the prosecution?
I think it's an argument, absolutely. And again, when you look at the parents' behaviors and the things they say, and you're going to end up in jail. And interestingly, you pointed out the father, or one of your guests pointed out, the father even said, did they advise you of your rights? And so I go back to something you all talked about on break, which is, you would think parents in this scenario, let me tell you, if I get a phone call and my 18-year-old is being questioned by the police lawyer, I'm going to show up with the lawyer. There'll be consequences in my home in terms of dealing with the issues, whatever they are. But the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that the 18-year-old who belongs to me's rights are protected. And they don't even do that. So I think the prosecution could make a pretty solid argument. Hey, that's why. That's the motive behind killing this baby, because she knew she was not going to get any support about having a baby from these parents.
Joseph, watching this video, it makes me think that when I have kids, I'm going to have 2 bracelets on them. One bracelet for allergies and one bracelet to say, don't question, they've got a lawyer. Because to Jose's point, the parents should have walked in with lawyers. Like, this was crazy. I think we said it earlier, it almost seems like one detective walked out and another walked in. These videos, and I want to ask you this question specifically as a defense attorney, these videos, and sometimes we call them Rikers calls because that's where our jail is, but jailhouse phone calls when parents are discussing very crucial information with your defendant. How harming can these conversations be to your ultimate case?
They can be incredibly haunting because you're getting the prosecution's dream testimony in. You know, you're getting damning evidence in. However, it's not done by a cop where a defense attorney can argue that this was the cop sort of planted these ideas. So, but on the other hand, I think there was a lot of gold in this case. It did not happen. And again, the main point of what I saw in here is that she was surprised that anybody would think that she killed her baby. She very much denied that she was responsible for the baby's death. And I thought it came across very credibly.
Yeah, and it was credible to that point, and I agree, and also consistent. Consistent with the officer, consistent with the mother, consistent with the father, all the way through. But I didn't do it in the absolute shock that they would even ask her that question. We're going to continue more with this case, following up some of the previous testimony, and maybe go live when they're back from lunch after this break.